Hi there. My name is Marcella Cox. I'm an eating disorder therapist in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I am here today with Jasmine Dunckel, who's the clinical director at Kindful Body. I'm also the founder of Kindful Body. And today we're going to be talking about when it's time to seek help. And Jasmine's going to help me answer some questions about when it's time to seek help. So, Jasmine, the first question I have for you is, doesn't everybody struggle with their body and their body image? And how do I know that it's crossed the line and it's time to get help?
Marcella, I'm so glad to be here with you and engaging with these questions. And I'm so glad that you're starting with this question, right? It's a good question because you would think that everybody struggles with their body by the way things are represented in the media, by all of the diet products, body altering products, plastic surgery, all of these things are out there. So again, it would seem like everybody's having some kind of struggle with their body. But in reality, there are folks that aren't criticizing their body, that aren't feeling uncomfortable in their body and just living in their body. Sure, they might think about how their body looks in terms of presentation, right? Like, I'm going to put on makeup. Does my hair look good? Do I have spinach in my teeth, right? And all of that is pretty healthy and normal. I know you've once said to me, like, we've got to think about it on a spectrum. So over here, we have the folks that are maybe neglecting aspects of their presentation. They're not showering. They're not brushing teeth. They're not brushing hair, right? This is concerning over here because this might be an indicator that we're depressed, right? In here in this little sweet spot, we have the folks that are thinking about, do I wear purple or pink? Do I want heels or flats? How do I want to dress this tool that I live in as I go out into the world? And that's a lovely place to be because in this place, you're not criticizing your body. You're not breaking your body down into little parts like my stomach, my butt, my thigh. You're looking at your whole self and wanting to feel comfortable, wanting to feel like you're expressing yourself and who you are through the way you dress and put your makeup on. Again, this is a healthy space to be in. And then there are the folks over here where they are constantly preoccupied with how their body looks. They're feeling like they have to fix their body. They don't feel comfortable in their body. They feel like their body is out of control. They don't feel like they know how to take care of their body. And that is in the space where we think it might be time for you to get some help so things don't progress any further. Another distinction to think about is the way that you think about your eating in general. Again, we have the folks that are maybe not getting in the nutrients that they need, aren't really thinking about taking care of their bodies. And this might be concerning in the form of, this might be a symptom of depression, right? Not having any appetite, not having any interest in taking care of yourself, right? That would be over here. In this middle spot, we have the folks that can kind of just eat what they want. And sometimes they eat a little too much. Sometimes they eat too little. But for the most part, they're not really thinking about it too much and they can eat what they want and feel fine afterwards. Feel neutral. Maybe only feel like, oh, all right, I'm good. Now I don't need to eat. And that's the only emotional experience that they're having. Whereas over here, there are tons of emotions wrapped up in the food piece. Am I eating enough? I feel insecure. I feel anxious. I eat too much. I feel guilty and shameful. And so that's another way to look at it. How emotional is your eating? How many emotional impacts does your choosing of food have on your body, right? Eating disorders show up when the way that you feel about your body, choosing good and right foods are the prevailing thoughts that you have kind of showing up in your headspace. Everything is about how am I looking, how am I eating, and all the feelings that come to that. And so again, if you're having any of these kind of experiences, if it is external cues that are telling you when and how much to eat, rather than those internal cues of I feel hunger and now I'm sated, those might be signs that you want to work with an eating disorder therapist and potentially work with a dietitian to help reconnect you to those internal cues that we were all born with.
Wow, you raise a lot of great points. And I just wanted to come back to the body image component that you started to talk about. There might be some actual signs that it's time to seek help. Like, for instance, body checking. I know you and I have had conversations about this before, but when you're constantly looking in the mirror or weighing yourself or changing outfit after outfit after outfit, that these can be some signs with body image. And then there's also signs with what you're eating, right? I love this idea of a spectrum. And, we have so many trendy ways of eating these days, and it really does disrupt our, natural intuition on when we're hungry, when we're full, what do we really want? Yeah, I'm wondering if you could talk about more specifically about struggles or signs that it is actually time to reach out for some support.
Certainly. I mean, you talked about the body checking, right? Folks that are in a healthy space with their body are able to look in the mirror and see a whole entire self, head to toe, the whole kit and caboodle. Folks who are experiencing body image disruptions are often only seeing little portions of their body. They're looking at a thigh, they're looking at a butt, they're looking at a stomach as if it's just this part in and of itself, right? When you're breaking down your body in that way, that to me is considered a body image disruption, where again, you might want an intervention. If your decisions on what you do in a day are based on how you feel about your body, do I go to the beach? Do I go to this party? Feeling like, oh, I can't have people looking at me. I don't feel comfortable going out in this body. That's another sign that you might want an intervention. I mean, I know for a lot of us going through COVID and this pandemic, our body sizes have changed a little bit. And some of us don't have the same body that we had in the beginning of COVID. If we're afraid to try on jeans, if we're trying on multiple outfits over and over and over and feeling bad in everything that we put on, this is a sign that we might want an intervention. If we're keeping clothes that haven't fit for a long time as either a reminder or some kind of punishment or a measuring stick to see if our bodies are acceptable, this is another sign that we might need an intervention, so that our body image doesn't start promoting other behaviors that become more damaging. If you feel anxious about eating, feel like you don't know what to eat, find yourself following fad diet after fad diet after fad diet, this is a sign that you are fully disconnected from what that internal signal is telling you around what your body needs. Some people feel anxious around making food choices. Some people feel like they have no idea what kind of food choices to make, whereas other people are feeling guilt and shame around their food choices, almost regardless of what they're doing. And so again, when you're noticing that there's intense emotionality tied with your eating patterns, this is another sign that you might want to get some help. There are folks that don't know if they're hungry and don't know when they're full. This is a sign that you might want to get some help. We need our internal cues to give us information about what we do next. I mean, imagine the mess we would be in if we didn't have an internal cue about needing to go to the bathroom, right? So we need to be able to listen to these cues to help ourselves figure out how we take care of this body that we're living in. For some people, again, when we're following these kind of like fad diets, one of the things that starts to happen is the acceptable foods begin to get less and less and less and less. Essentially, we're becoming more and more restrictive. Another thing that I'll hear from folks is feeling afraid of food, feeling afraid to have something in your house, feeling afraid to go to a birthday party because there'll be cake, feeling afraid to go out to lunch because I might eat so much. And so then what do I have to do to work that off or account for it or almost repent for the sin of enjoying a delicious meal that you didn't calorie count? So if you're experiencing any of these signs, again, I would want you to get some support because these can lead to more severe behaviors that really will start becoming damaging to your body and your psyche.
Well, thanks so much for giving some clear examples. And I just so appreciate you mentioning about the trendy ways or the fad ways of eating, and that really do disrupt our internal knowing. And there's a statistic out by NIDA. I think it's something like 25% of diets or fad eating, right? Clean eating, those kind of intermittent fasting can turn into a full-blown eating disorder. And so, and what we see with so many clients is this type of restriction that happens, and then the pendulum swings the other way, and we're then binging. And then we kind of go, Deb Burgard calls it going from diet land to donut land. We just kind of swing on this pendulum, and that's just not good for us. So if you're swinging back and forth on the pendulum, right, to seek some help. Another question that's come up, and we thought that would be good for us to answer, is that you're eating too much and not too little. And then why would you come to an eating disorder therapist or a dietitian. Could you talk a little bit to that?
Absolutely. I mean, I would imagine for most of us, when we think of an eating disorder, we think of an emaciated body. And this is sort of how we've been programmed to think about eating disorders, when in reality, the way that your body looks is in no way a sign of if you have an eating disorder or not. Folks with disordered eating and eating disorders come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors. So you can be Black with an eating disorder. You can be in a large body with an eating disorder. You can be in a quote unquote normal body and an eating disorder. The shape of your body does not tell you if you have an eating disorder. The feelings and emotions and reactions to your eating is much more indicative of if you have an eating disorder. For the folks who are eating too much, what I commonly hear from them is that there is an intense amount of guilt and shame that comes with that eating of too much. When they eat the food afterwards, they feel shameful, they feel guilty, they feel bad about themselves, they have a low sense of self-worth. And those types of emotions moving around in the body is extremely toxic. And they often lead to more disruptive, more disturbing, more damaging behaviors, whether that's continuing to eat too much and feeling that intense sense of fullness, whether that's hurting yourself in other ways because of what you're doing with your food, whether that's kind of ping-ponging back and forth, like you were saying, from restriction to binging. All of these behaviors are not only damaging for our body, but also damaging for our soul, for our psyche, for who we are. So if you're finding yourself feeling shame, feeling guilt around the way that you're eating, feeling like you're out of control and you should be able to stop it, I want to encourage you to get some help, because these patterns are really difficult to disrupt on your own without support, without insight, without awareness, and without tools. I mean, one really impressive reframe that I heard from another clinician is considering getting a toy box, right? I want to play with these behaviors so that I have more skills to move through them, rather than considering it tools, something that's for this one thing, right? If we're learning how to deal with shame in a way that doesn't have judgment, in a way that allows for a lot of potentials, this means that we can work with shame that comes from other spaces. And when we get that feeling of shame, we'll have other ways to deal with it outside of eating too much. So again, for me, it's important to acknowledge what is happening in our head when we're eating, what is happening in our head when we're in our body, rather than how does my body look?
Oh, such great information, and so true. I really appreciate you bringing back up this restriction binging pendulum. And it is really important to have a dietitian on a team who can help to figure out what would be appropriate amount to eat to help break some of these patterns, and make sure that you're nourished enough throughout the day that in the evening, then you're not turning towards food because you're hungry, right? That actually does happen. Sometimes it's for emotional reasons, and sometimes it's physical. Your body is telling you, I need food. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So before we wrap up, I'm wondering, Jasmine, if you have recommendations where people can get resources. What do you think?
Well, my first suggestion would be to reach out to Kindful Body. We may not be the right fit for you, but we will absolutely help you find a place that is the right fit for you, whether it's a different form of outpatient work, whether it is some higher level of, or a clinician who just happens to be more educated in your particular area. So I want to acknowledge Kindful Body as a resource for you, whether you're a fit for us or not. Whether we have the clinicians that you're interested in working with, you can still reach out to us and we can help give you direction. Outside of that, there's the National Eating Disorder Association, which has so many different resources on their website that you could reach out to. There's EDRC of Silicon Valley, which again has a lot of resources, information, groups to help support you in your process, in your journey and having a healthier relationship with your body and your spirit. You can also check out Body Respect. This is a book that helps you eat in a way where you are respecting your body, again, as something that helps you move the world. It's not that we need to look at our body as, how does it look? How are people responding to it? It's meant to be a tool that helps you move through space. Intuitive Eating is another really helpful book that helps you reconnect with that internal knowing, that wisdom that we were all born with around our eating behaviors, and more than a body, as a way to help us look at our body again as a tool, not as a performative piece, not as an ornament, but as something that we live in so that we can hug the people that we care about, so we can get to the places that we want to go, so we can have the experiences that are important to us. And again, these books are just a place to start, to give you a language, to increase your awareness around how we're engaging with food and our body.
Well, thank you so much for all those resources. And what we'll do is we'll list them when we post this video. So if folks want to check them out, any of the books or the different websites to get support, we will have those resources available. And I just want to extend to you, Jasmine, a big heartfelt thank you for spending this time with me today and discussing these really important topics. It was wonderful to spend this time together.
Thank you, Marcella. I'm really grateful to be having this conversation with you.
Well, thank you everyone for watching today. And if you need support, please follow the links that are provided. Take care.